रॉनी और जरीना स्क्रूवाला, ये दो नाम, ये अकेले ही चल पड़े थे जानिबे मंजिल, मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया। हिम्मत थी अपनी खुली आंखों से नामुमकिन लगते हुए ख्वाब देखने की। कुछ ने कहा शायद हो ना पाएगा, मगर ये 1.5 अक्षर आग जैसे नहीं, अगर जाग जाएं तो आग हैं। बिल्कुल सही कहा गया है इस परिवार के लिए। इन 1.5 अक्षरों से बने हम, इन 1.5 अक्षरों से बने तुम, और इन्हीं 1.5 अक्षरों से बना ये स्वदेश परिवार।
ये वो बंधन है जो कभी टूट नहीं सकता।
स्वच्छ भारत, सशक्त भारत, समृद्ध भारत की मशाल लिए हुए पिछले कई वर्षों से तत्पर है स्वदेश फाउंडेशन।
तुझे है पुकारा।
हजारों गांव वासियों के घर बसे, बच्चों को शिक्षा का लाभ मिला, बेटियों ने सफलताओं की राहें चुनी, आदिवासियों के घरों में भी उम्मीदों की रोशनियां जली, पीने को और स्वस्थ जीवन जीने को पानी मिला, खेत खलियान लहराने लगे, महिलाओं ने जिम्मेदारियों की मजबूत डोरें थामी, लौट के शहरों से युवा अपने अपने घर को आए। सिर्फ इंसान ही नहीं पर पेड़ पौधे पशु पक्षियां भी मुस्कुराए। ये सफर आसान बिल्कुल नहीं था, और इस साल तो जैसे मुसीबतों के सैलाब का सामना करना पड़ा है। कोरोना महामारी और हाल ही में आए हुए चक्रवात जैसे कठिन परिस्थितियों में भी स्वदेश फाउंडेशन की टीम रुकी नहीं। ऐसे समय पर खुद पे आई मुसीबतों की परवाह न करते हुए रायगढ़ जिले के वासियों की परवाह और सेवा में डटे रहे। रुके न तू, थके न तू, झुके न तू, थमे न तू, सदा चले थके न तू, रुके न तू, झुके न तू। फाउंडर्स की दूरदर्शिता रही। स्वदेश के इस मिशन में कई समर्थों का सहयोग भी रहा, पर इस फाउंडेशन के असली नायक है यहाँ काम करते हुए कर्मचारी।
स्व से बने देश, स्वदेश आओ मिलके बदले।
तुझसे जिंदगी है ये कह रही, सब तो पानियां अब है।
Hello and welcome to this very special program. The Swades Building Livelihoods campaign raises funds to build livelihoods of 15,000 plus of the most needy households. Tribals, migrants, daily wage homes and others, the poorest of the poor families in rural Raigad and Nashik districts of Maharashtra. The aim of this telethon is to create self-sustaining communities as we build their capacities, strengthen inputs and market linkages, and ensure that every household earns at least 2 lakh rupees every year through a basket of programs, be it farm-based, off-farm or non-farm interventions. Now this is all done through a series of steps, and we're going to identify on this program what exactly that's all about. We're very privileged to have Ronnie and Zarina Screwwala with us on this program, Dr. Pranoy Roy and my colleague Nidhi Kulpati.
तो स्वदेश मुहिम की कोशिश है अपने लोगों को रोजगार का जरिया देकर आत्मनिर्भर बनाने की। एक प्रयास अपने मजदूर, आदिवासी, दिहाड़ी मजदूर, विस्थापित, गरीब से गरीब को सशक्त और सबल बनाने की। जरूरत के अनुसार बेहतर किसानी या फिर स्किल ट्रेनिंग यानी कौशल विकास से उनकी आमदनी में इजाफा करने की। स्वदेश फाउंडेशन ने अब तक ग्रामीण रायगढ़ और नासिक में करीब 2500 एकड़ जमीन को सिंचित किया है। मुर्गी पालन हो, बकरी चरवाना हो, मछली पालन, डेयरी जैसे क्षेत्रों में लगे लोगों की कमाई 25,000 से 80,000 सालाना कर दी गई। संस्था के सहारे और प्रशिक्षण से 13,000 कारोबारी तैयार किए गए। 2,600 युवाओं को रोजगार दिया, जिससे उनकी सालाना कमाई 1 लाख तक हो गई। तो ये संस्था अपने आप को बता दें 150 लोगों की मजबूत फील्ड टीम और ग्राम विकास समिति के साथ मिलकर जरूरतमंदों को चिन्हित कर ट्रेन कर आत्मनिर्भर बनाती है।
Thanks Nidhi, and thanks very much Vishnu, and welcome to this very special telethon for me and for all of us. As you've just heard, this program is dedicated to raising funds for really a wonderful organization, Swades, founded and run by Zarina and Ronnie Screwwala. I have known Zarina and Ronnie Screwwala for many decades now, and all I can say is that they are among the finest people I know. Their work has always not only been of the highest level of integrity and ethics, it's also the finest quality. And the work they're doing with the poorest of the poor families in our rural areas now is amazing, as you will see as this program moves on. It really is an honor for us to let everyone hear and see for yourself their work on the ground among farmers and migrants returning to their farms. And these people have been the most terribly badly hit by this pandemic. I have no doubt that after you see the work of Swades, you will contribute towards helping their work expand and develop even more. One fact that I must point out right at the start, that every 1 rupee you contribute to Swades, the farmers will get 3 times that, 3 rupees for every 1. So basically you can say let's look at how your contribution will actually help, and this makes a big difference. The donation, if you make of 4,000, that will go for poultry and fishery auxiliary income for farmers, and that will raise the farmer income by 25 to 35,000. Your 4,000 will become 12,000 and will raise farmer income every year by 25 to 35,000. If you donate more than that, if you donate, let's say, 7,000, that will go for goat rearing and for dairy farming. That means your 7,000 will become 21,000 for goat rearing, and it will raise farmer income by 40 to 80,000 rupees. Can you imagine? 7,000 can go to 80,000 every year. And a one-time donation of 14 will go for drip irrigation. Drip irrigation, again, that 14,000 will become 3 times that, and that will raise farmer incomes by 60 to 80,000 rupees every year. That's the way this money, your contribution, will be actually spent. So let's confirm. Your contribution will be multiplied by 3. Every 1 rupee donation you give, that will be, or a contribution you give, will be matched by a corporate donor of another 1 rupee, and then by Swades themselves will match another 1 rupee. So call them contributions as much as donations, because you're contributing towards the farming community in India. So your 1 rupee goes to the farmer as 3 rupees. If you contribute 5,000, it becomes 15,000. It just is a wonderful concept and very focused. And with Zarina and Ronnie there, the efficiency of the use of that funds will be outstanding, I assure you.
Absolutely. Now, Zarina, we've heard a lot about the Swades model of development. Can you explain to us what it's about? What makes it unique?
Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much to NDTV, to Pranoy, to you, Vishnu and Nidhi, for all the hard work, and to our team at Swades for all the hard work. It's a privilege for Ronnie and I to be here on behalf of 500,000 people that we work with in rural Raigad. So thank you, NDTV, for being with us and helping us to spread the message. What we always wanted to do from the beginning, and we've been working in rural India for 20 years, and in the last 6 years, we've really ramped up our model, and we've really defined what we want to do at the Swades Foundation. We want to create a model of rural development that can lift 1 million people out of poverty every 5 years. And today we reached the halfway mark, the 500,000 mark. We do work with 500,000 people in our rural communities. We believe deeply that poverty is material but also mental, and therefore we believe in rural empowerment through various means, building various institutions. One which we will be talking about as we go along is the village development committees, which we're very proud of, which we built 1,000 in the last 1 year. The other thing about our model that is important to say is, I think Ronnie and I both come from the film background or the media background, and we deeply believe in the collaborative model. Never do something yourself if someone else can do it better. So we work with the government, we work with corporates, we work with other expert NGOs. The other unique thing about us is we take a geographical approach. And within that geography, we have the real magic, which is the holistic model of development. So we're currently working in 2,500 villages, as I said, with half a million people. And the other thing I wanted to say, though we're called the Foundation, we are really working at the grassroots. We actually have 1,000 community volunteers, and to add to that, we have 300 full-time staff, out of which 90% work at the grassroots. So we're a grassroots execution foundation. And as I said, the real magic of Swades, the uniqueness of Swades, is our 360-degree model, one of which, and maybe our pinnacle, is Livelihoods, which we're discussing today. And I'd like to hand over to Ronnie to really explain this 360-degree approach, if I may.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Ronnie, actually. Zarina, that's very interesting. What you said is just amazing, actually. Two things I'd like to ask Ronnie. Just go into a little more detail about what Zarina just outlined, and that is 360. What exactly does it mean? And also, if you could explain to us, at this time of a pandemic, it must be really, really tough to reach out and do your work. How are you tackling that?
Yeah, thanks, Pranay, and thanks for explaining it right in the beginning, the kind of impact that donations can have today on a 3x multiple. And Zarina has given a very clear idea of what we do. I think the aspect
Very
of being
clear.
an execution foundation really means, like anybody else in the social form, I think there's incredible work being going on by many people. But our ability to be right in front allows us to be nimble, most of us in the NGO space think this is what the community wants, and we go out to deliver that. We rarely look at what the community may want in return. We got to build their trust. So the 360 degree for us, the basic summation was, it's all interdependent. I can't solve the school problem if I don't solve the water problem. I can't solve empowerment problem if I don't solve the livelihood problem. So while most people have been working in a lot of silos, which is fantastic, we've taken the aspect that unless we can connect water, sanitation, health, education, and livelihood as one go, we're not going to be able to empower people to change their own destiny and to take their own destiny in their own hands to bring about permanent change. The 360-degree model is to bring about permanent change. To your second point on just what's the impact overall for what goes, especially in this COVID time. For the last 5 years, we've been evangelizing about why reverse migration in a country like India is important, because most of the community comes into cramped cities and needs to go back. In the last 5 months, we've had 95,000 people in our community, about a little more than 500,000, that have come back in this very limited time. And it's been a gigantic problem, also a gigantic opportunity.
Well, Ronnie and Zarina, we'll come back to both of you throughout this program, but we have a splendid guest joining us, R.S. Sodhi, the Managing Director of Amul. Now, the Amul example has been one of India's great success stories. Mr. Sodhi, tell us a little bit about dairy and cooperatives as a means of rural empowerment in your experience.
If you talk about dairy or animal husbandry, it is providing jobs to the 100 million rural households. Now, out of that, 80% are landless and marginal. And dairy itself is around $100 billion industry. And out of that, if you talk about organized, is around $30 billion. There's no industry as bigger than, and there's no industry which is providing source of livelihood, that too very stable and remunerative any other industries concerned. And in agriculture, if you see, agriculture contribution to GDP is declining. At the time of independence used to be half, today just 16 to 17%. But it is only animal husbandry which contribution to GDP is growing year after year. It is around 4.5% now. Reason is simple. Now with more prosperity, more income, we are consuming more and more food which is protein and fat rich. And animal husbandry is providing both protein and fat. And right now you showed just now that what you are doing, Swades is doing, movement is doing, and you will see the best source of income in India where you already have got market is animal husbandry, be it dairy, poultry or fisheries. And if you see the potentiality is immense. Today we have got 135 crore people, which will be 170 crore people by 2050. So market is, so we have got 170 1.70 billion stomach to feed, and that is the market which we have got, and that is the much food we have to grow. And let me tell you, all of us, we know that, I mean, during COVID, the one subject, one industry which everybody was talking about, food.
Yeah, so I just got to say that we've been following Amul ever since it started, Mr. Kurian, and it's one of the most impressive, huge cooperative companies, that organizations that have really succeeded. But tell us, you know, in your lessons that you have learned over these years, and how can NGOs also learn? How do cooperatives have to think differently from private companies?
Well, I don't think when you are a cooperative or private, you can be business goals or business philosophies or business efficiency will be different. Whether you are cooperative or NGO, firstly, you have to stand on your own feet. You can't be on crutches. You can't work on subsidies. So your model has to be sustainable. Your model has to see you have got the market access. You have to see that the people involved in your model, be it a cooperative or NGO or a private, are able to sustain independently, and they can give their, I mean, they can live with dignity. So that is, and today, whether Amul is there or any other cooperative, we are fighting the world's biggest and best corporate or multinationals. And still in India, share of cooperatives are growing because simply business philosophy is different. Cooperatives or farmers, or you see, cooperatives nothing but farmers or producer-owned organizations. So their business philosophy is to buy their raw material at as high price as possible and sell their finished product at such affordable prices that masses can buy it, masses can afford it, and it is diagonally opposite than any multinational or corporate. That is why in India, Amul and cooperative is growing.
Mr. Sori, I'd really like to welcome you to our Raigad and Nasik districts actually, and welcome Amul there. We've been challenged and struggling. I think the main part where the community actually feels the need to take on dairy as a livelihood and an income. Part of the challenge, I think, is of course the debt and the loan structure and the EMI structure in this country, and how do we sort of expand and allow more people to look at this. Second, how do you all evangelize your farmers and your community to actually take on this? Because it's a very profitable one. It can really augment income of farmers and households in a massive manner. And third is we've created a chain of multiple entrepreneurs, because every 9 kilometers you need a chilling plant if you really want that milk to stay fresh. Any words of advice for us on that?
Well, Ronnie, you're right. Animal husbandry or dairy is the one profession, one industry which landless or marginal farm karo. Cultivation, you should have land. But they are lucky that you are not, vulnerable to the cultivation. We don't know prices are so going up and down. And with 2 cows or buffalo, any farmer or 3, you can earn sitting in your village, just backside your home. In the housewife, ladies can do it. You can earn 3,000 to 4,000 rupees per animal. So if you have got 3, you can earn 10,000 to 11,000 rupees per month sitting at home. Reason is simple, that here you have got the market access. And coming out the potential, let me tell you, 1 lakh liter
This
milk,
on air level
if
can be a
you,
little higher, will be great. It's still quite.
yeah, if 1 lakh liter milk can be given with the organized sector, 6,000 jobs can be generated. 5,000 in the rural India and 1,000 in the whole supply chain. So animal husbandry or dairy, poultry or fishery is one sector which can provide livelihood, especially when you are talking to migrant labor or the people in the area where you are talking.
Fantastic to hear all of those suggestions, and thank you, sir, very much for joining us. We're also inspired by the story of Amul. Thank you so much indeed. We're joined now by Surendra Rosha, the CEO of HSBC. Thanks very much for being with us. Tell us a little bit about your partnership with Swades.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. We started a partnership with Swades about 5 years back with a program called HSBC Skills for Life, which was a 5-year skilling program. And through that process, we've worked with 30,000 youth across 10 sectors. 21,000 of them now have jobs. From there, our partnership evolved to water and sanitation, and we worked with them on what we call Vatsan collaboration, which is now in its 4th year, and we believe has impacted over 100,000 lives, providing sanitation to 9,000 families, 50 schools, and over 19,000 children now studying in a clean and conducive environment. The reason I'm using these numbers is because Swades gave us scale. You know, they were able to allow us to scale up the impact of our contribution, and they were able to show us outcomes that were significant in the process, both in skilling and water and sanitation. Recently, we worked with them as part of the COVID support program in Raigad with various government hospitals. But really, as we enter the recovery phase from COVID, we wish Swades and the very best for the Building Livelihoods program. This is really a critical program, and I would encourage everybody to join it and be part of it with Swades.
Surendra Rosha, thanks so much for joining us. It's great to have you. HSBC itself does a lot of its own CSR initiatives. So how does your CSR and your goals combine in partnership or in line with Swades?
Thanks, Dr. Roy. But you know, we wouldn't have been able to do it without Swades. I mean, from our perspective, we bring an element to the process, which is perhaps the money or the CSR budget, if I could call it that. The real execution and the outcomes are with Ronnie and Zarina's team.
Right.
A fantastic announcement to make, and it's the first of what we all hope would be many. We'd like to thank C.H. Robinson for the CSR donation of 5 lakhs to this cause. We've got our first runs on the board. I assure you, we'll score a lot more by the end of this. But at this stage, I'd like to welcome Suresh Prabhu, the former Minister of Commerce and Industry, and somebody who's been following these developments very, very closely in parts of Maharashtra. Sir, rural India seems to be particularly badly hit. First the pandemic, then the lockdown. There's been a loss of jobs, rising debts, rising cases of corona. What can be done to ensure that our villages can battle and survive this?
Mahatma Gandhi had said that India lives in villages. So if you develop villages, India will get developed, and that is subsequently Narendra Modi as a Prime Minister of India has been really trying to make this rural development as a priority area. The skill development program will greatly help in creating local opportunities for the local youth and the local women and the local farmers. So therefore, not just cities which have been a prime attraction for people to migrate there, but now the rural areas will be the real growth center for the country. Because of so many programs that have been initiated thanks to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I think we can see a great amount of opportunities for the rural youth in rural areas. So I think training will be a key component, market linkages will be a key component, making model work. I will share with you an experience. As Commerce Industry Minister, we have started working on district-led growth. We selected 6 districts, and therefore if district grows, the country will grow. So we are now trying to reverse the growth paradigm by making district growth first. Obviously that will be captured in the national growth, then hoping that national growth will percolate down to the district. So this is a very new paradigm and we have already started working on it.
सर, कोंकण में जो हालात हैं, व्हाट डू यू थिंक ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस लाइक स्वदेश एंड देयर वर्क इन रायगढ़, खास तौर से लाइवलीहुड को लेकर जो उन्होंने वहां पे काम किया है, क्या आपके राय है?
As I told you, the non-governmental organization will play a very key role. And my personal experience, because we have been running this Manav Sadhan Vikas Samstha and NGO for the last 25 years, and we have seen the results on the ground, and we are very encouraged by the fact that when you actually start putting the holistic development model, which we have been promoting, obviously that is something which people like it. So I am sure Swades and others can work together and make sure that we can actually develop together a most sustainable livelihoods, most sustainable development model, most sustainable societies, and obviously therefore most sustainable possibilities for the future.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, जुड़ने के लिए, समय निकालने के लिए और जुड़ने के लिए इस मुहिम के साथ.
In fact, Nidhi, what was interesting that right at the end he mentioned about the possibility of working with Swades. Now, Zarina, tell us, do you have any collaborations with the government? Is it actually something that you are thinking of?
Yes, we do actually have several collaborations and MOUs with the government. Actually, without the government, you really cannot achieve scale. So it was wonderful that Rosha said we help to achieve scale for HSBC, but really the government helps us achieve scale. So we really believe deeply in working with the government because it's very much a part of our collaborative approach. And at both the state level and the district level, we have so many heroes who we have met, who are amazing people, dynamic people. So we have MOUs in education, in health, and one of the two that we're really very proud of is we have one with the government of Maharashtra to create 1,000 dream villages in the next 5 years. And we started working on the first 100 as a pilot, and we're making good strides. So we can create this model of a dream village, which is totally empowered and able to execute programs on their own, then this is really truly sustainable development. And the other one that we have, which recently signed, is a MOU with MSRLM, with Bimla ji, who's going to be on the program later, to strengthen SHGs. So yes, we have plenty of government collaboration, and we're very proud of the work we do with the government.
Yes, thank you for the views. Now we have with us Anu Aga, former chairperson, Thermax Limited, and the former chairperson of Teach for India. Ma'am, you have done so much social work through the years, and now this is one of the biggest crises. And you have probably seen till now, especially the situation of the migrant laborers. What can one do specifically about them?
We've all become aware of the problems they face, and this invisible group came to light thanks to COVID. And in a small way, some of us, along with an NGO called Dasra, that's a few corporates, a few NGOs, are getting together to find ways in which, when they come back, how can we make their lives a little better? How can industry follow at least the legal requirements, if not beyond? So we are creating model business houses who will show what needs to be done. And there are such basic things. We need to have some things done by the government. For example, they cannot vote if they are out of their state. And because they can't vote, the politicians couldn't care about them.
Anu Aga, you have done so much work in your life, social work. In fact, you got a Padma Shri for it. So it's just wonderful to hear your experience in this area. And I think one of the key things that Swades is doing, and which you also alluded to, is not just a one-time handout to people, but providing them finding work, and not just farm work, other kinds of work, so their lives are sustainable in the long run, right? Even outside urban areas.
Swades is doing that in a unique 360 approach for poverty alleviation. And they started this work way before COVID was there. They did this by creating 1,000 village development committees and truly empowering the community to take change, to sort of take on change.
Yes, yes.
And take charge of their own lives.
अनु जी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. We heard Ms. Saga make a reference to the Village Development Committee, Ronnie. Tell us what you are doing to enable them to solve their own problems in the villages.
You know, when we scaled up about 4 or 5 years, one of our key learning lessons was, as entrepreneurs and as first generation entrepreneurs, we set our own targets, but the villages don't necessarily need to match our targets. So we figured out that there was a push from us versus rather a pull. And in rural India, if you really want people to participate, the pull element has to come in. So I think in the last 2 years, really we've evolved that we need to create these village development committees that own and create their own demand in all aspects, whether it is water connections or whether it is sanitation, whether it is education or health. Village development committee is our vehicle to create the demand. It's our vehicle for them to own it. And it's a vehicle to empower and exit as we go forward. So it is really the bedrock. And I think that's a model, if people can follow around India, it's going to be incredibly rejuvenating to actually create impact. That village development committee is the core of it. And we have a right mix between women and men, active age group, demographic mix on that. And that takes it to the completely next level. So it's something that took us some learning to do. But now I think it's in a good place.
Absolutely. Village development committees, being at the center of everything that you do. James Crabtree, the former Mumbai bureau chief of the Financial Times, joins us. He's currently the associate professor of practice at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore. Thanks very much for being with us. Now, you've seen the work of Swades. You've traveled to take a look at what they do. What was that experience like for you?
I think that the thing that jumped out at me when I began to learn about the foundation by Ronnie and Zarina was the approach of looking at whole villages and trying to look at many different kinds of interventions in one place and realizing that in a sense many charities try and fix one thing that's going wrong in a local area, water or a school or a health clinic, but that actually what you need to do is throw the whole kitchen sink at a problem. And so that was what I found interesting when, in a sense, Ronnie first began to tell me about the projects and what they were funding. These kind of model village projects were the things that I thought were most interesting and that I've been tracking a little bit, albeit from here in Singapore now rather than in India.
James Crabtree, Pranoy, great to chat with you again. I know we've been on email and WhatsApp because I've noticed you've really studied the impact of this pandemic financially, globally. So how is it really affecting the livelihood of people, mainly in rural areas globally?
Well, the pandemic starts in the cities because the cities are most connected, but in many ways it's rural areas that are going to be most badly affected and you see that I think in India now, that as the pandemic comes under control in the big urban areas, it's the rural areas that are most at risk. And so the kind of things that Swades is trying to do, rural entrepreneurship, things that are going to make rural areas more resilient, become even more important, both in this part of the pandemic, but also in the recovery phase as we move forward. So trying to find employment opportunities for people who are leaving cities and heading back to their villages becomes a kind of crucial public policy question and one that not just India, but many other countries around Asia are also grappling with. So.
All right, James Crabtree, thanks very much for sharing those thoughts. Joining us now is Zareen Daruwala, CEO of Standard Chartered Bank. Now, Swades has been doing a lot of work during this very difficult and challenging COVID-19 period in partnership with multiple corporates in so many areas. Tell us a bit about Standard Chartered Bank and some of the partnership that you've been involved in this work.
So as we all know, India has been going through a very challenging phase during this COVID pandemic. And as Standard Chartered, who's been in the country for 160 years, we also have done a little bit. I think every drop counts, And it all adds up to all the corporates who have put in the initiative. We also did our bit. So with Swades, we tied up to provide meals to migrant laborers. And we have provided over 3.3 lakh meals to the homeless migrant daily laborers at 30 locations across Mumbai in a 6-month period. Regarding ongoing work, Swades has been a partner for us in some other initiatives, and we're working with them in the Raigad district, which, as people know, is one of the poorest districts in India, and I think the poorest district in Maharashtra. So there we work with them to provide about 5,200 youth with scholarships. 30,000 children across 300 schools will get educated with our sponsorship. Also, we're working with them on drinking water, which will provide safe drinking water to 10,000 households. We're quite proud to be partnering Swades. We've seen the kind of good work they're doing on the ground, and it's been a journey for them, and it's very, very encouraging, the kind of work that they've done on the ground.
Well, Zareen Darwala, many congratulations on all the work that Standard Chartered is doing. It's a financial company, a bank with a heart. But can you just give a little more details on how you've responded overall to COVID-19, including with regard to providing livelihood opportunities, actually sustainable?
We have provided almost 1 million meals in this last few months, which is quite gratifying because we saw the kind of distress that the immediate lockdown created for a lot of the migrant labor. We're also working with we provided N95 masks, we provided PPE kits. We also worked with visually impaired women, and that was quite gratifying, and their families, in providing them the safety kit and the protective gear.
Right, so there are a whole lot of areas that you've been involved with. Zareen Darwala, thanks for being with us. We are now joined by Neerja Birla.
I would like to wish Swades Foundation all the very best. We're very proud to be associated with them, and I wish them success in the years ahead in whatever they're endeavoring to do.
All right. Well, Neerja Birla, founder and chairperson of the Aditya Birla Education Trust, joins us. Tell us how the Aditya Birla World Academy is engaged with the Swades Foundation.
So the Aditya Birla World Education, the children actually from grades 9 to 12 go there periodically, and it's like they're involved in a cultural immersion program with the village called Varand, which is a part of the Swades Foundation endeavor. So they're trying to teach the children, and I think they've been very successful. It's been a great initiative where they teach the children English through various storytelling sessions. They do some art sessions with them. They're teaching them grammar, basic grammar skills. They're teaching them math. So it's a great way to communicate for both parties, for the children in the village as well as for our school children. They're trying to talk in Marathi. They are trying to teach them English. So it's a great cultural immersion program. And they were also involved in some sanitation and hygiene initiatives, actually, where our students were helping them with talks on anemia and the pre-anemia, the pre-test for anemia, for the anemia awareness, for campaigns pre and post menstruation and menstrual hygiene sessions. So it's been a great program where they've actually interacted with each other, and I think our children have really grown a lot from that experience and from that interaction. So it's been a really wonderful experience for them, and we're really looking forward to continuing with this as soon as we can.
Can I ask a quick question to both of you, Neerja Birla and Zarina Screwwala? I'd like to ask you, what kind of impact has this bridging of the rural-urban divide been on the children from the academy and on the children that the Swades Foundation is working with? Let's start with you, Neerja Birla.
So for our school children, like I said, it's been a great experience. I think all of them have actually the feedback that they've given has been in superlatives, where they've really enjoyed the experience. I think it's obviously been an eye-opener of sorts. It's been a great leveler because our children may not be exposed to what really rural India is about, and this is so close to Bombay and yet so rural. It was a great experience for them to realize that there are a lot of gaps, and I think all of them are really charged to make that difference. I think all of them have been speaking about wanting to make an impact and felt very happy and very fulfilled by the fact that they were able to make a difference in their lives. And I think they even got a very good response from the girls when they spoke about menstruation and hygiene. So I think they were very happy about that. I think it was a great experience for them.
Yeah, so I think, Neeja, I totally agree with you. And when we had come to the school to share experiences with the children, and one of the things that they said in your school, the children of your school, is that, we thought we would come to teach, but actually we learnt a lot from the children in the rural communities, and that was very touching. And both communities, the one thing that I got is we're not so different. We're actually the same. I mean, we have certain different problems, we have certain different life, but actually we're the same. And that came from both sets of children. And I found that exactly what we try to do, which is to connect people, to show people that wherever you are, being a human being is being a human being.
Absolutely, Zarina. And I think it was a great way of also teaching the children empathy. Like you're saying, they realize that, they are very similar to each other. And at least for, for our kids from urban India, it's very important to, make them have that connect and give them that exposure to this part of India, which is a reality, which very much exists.
नीजा, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और खासतौर से बच्चों के बारे में सोचने के लिए जो त्रासदी से खुद गुजर रहे हैं। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जुड़ने के लिए इस कार्यक्रम में। और अब हमारे साथ बेहद खास मेहमान हैं निधि चौधरी, डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर रायगढ़। मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहूंगी कि रायगढ़ ने बहुत मुश्किल हालात देखे हैं, लॉकडाउन को लेकर, कोरोना निसर्ग को लेकर। अब जिस तरह की स्थितियां हैं, द लाइवलीहुड्स ऑफ द डेली वेज अर्नर्स, द माइग्रेंट लेबरर्स हैज बीन अफेक्टेड। नाउ एट दिस पॉइंट, हाउ आर स्वदेश एंड द डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कोलैबोरेटिंग इन हेल्पिंग द पीपल ऑफ रायगढ़?
Swadesh has been working in this district for past many years. I remember when I was SDM here, even at that point of time, Swadesh used to work extensively for water conservation and sanitation activities. It has worked towards building toilets under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. And later, Swadesh focused more on livelihood building in 7 blocks of Raigad district, in which tribal population is mostly located. And of late, even during lockdown, as I told, that we allowed civil society organization to work towards livelihood promotion, and Swadesh was one of the good civil society organization working in our district, which worked towards promotion of self-help groups, pottery, dairy, skill building activities for tribals. And it has collaborated with us in COVID management also. Swadesh has basically given support in way of giving us PPE kits and ventilators and other medical equipments for the frontline workers and also government hospitals. So it has been a very close collaboration with Swadesh as far as COVID-19 crisis goes.
Well, joining us now, Dr. R. Mashelkar, the former Director General of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research and a member of the Advisory Board of the Swades Foundation. I just wanted to, bring across Mr. Mashelkar, Dr. Mashelkar at this stage. So firstly, thanks so much for sort of being a part of this and coming in and chatting with us. Now, Swades has an incredibly ambitious mission. Would you say that they're actually on schedule, or would you say that they might in fact be ahead of the curve in what they're doing?
Oh yes, I would say they're way ahead of the work. First of all, in terms of high aspiration, talking about lifting 1 million people over the poverty line is no mean achievement, 1 million in just 5 years. And then I would say their idea of trust, building trust within the community so that they participate, then team building, and then aiming at transformation, the trust, team and transform, I think that is another sort of strong force multiplier. And they do it with speed, attain scale and do it sustainability. So I would say that is why they are ahead of the curve. And see, many things that we now talk about, they have done already. For example, on 15 August 2019, our Honorable Prime Minister talked about Har Nal Se Jal, all right, in terms of water. But if you see, they have already done it several years ago in terms of ensuring that every household gets 200 litre of water. We talk about reverse migration. I think the way they actively created reverse migration from Mumbai to those areas in Raigad, I think is absolutely incredible. So I think in all this, I would say they are way ahead of the curve.
Dr. Mashelkar, it's wonderful to see you involved in all this. Just give us a little bit of a background. What connected you personally to Swades?
Well, both Rani and Zarina have been kind of iconic figures for me. I've followed them from the UTV days. What I like is they have this innovation up here, passion in the belly and compassion in the heart. Innovation, compassion and passion. That is incredible. The other thing that attracts me is like this, I myself was born in a very poor family. I walked barefoot until I was 12. I studied under street lights. And the importance of help that I got, the scholarship that I got, just 6 rupees per month, is why I'm here sort of talking to you. And what Ronnie and Zarina are trying to do is to lift such Mashelkars out of sheer poverty and give them a chance in their life. That's what connects me.
Dr. Mashelkar, thank you so much for such inspiring words. And now we have Manika Batra, Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna awardee, table tennis mein mila hai inko. So Manika, I'd like to ask you, as we try and get back to this new normal, so many workers have gone back to their villages and town, और उनकी जो समस्याएं हैं बहुत हम सबके सामने हैं. So क्या राय, क्या सोच, what are your thoughts for them?
The first and foremost thing that I want all of us to focus on is our own health. Health is not merely wealth. It is far, far more precious than wealth. We should all adopt a healthy lifestyle. And while we take care of our own health, we must also preserve our sensitivity towards the underprivileged sections of our society. Any kind of crisis hits these sections the hardest. If we are good to them, we are best to ourselves, I feel. Like for example, my sports center where I train in Pune has been training street children in table tennis for last 3 years, which is, I feel outstanding. Of course, now the training is halted due to this lockdown, but if we all care for those underprivileged sections in our own different ways, it actually helps us more than it helps them, I feel, because it gives us joy, satisfactions when we help them, when we provide those basic needs to them. So yeah, I feel personally, I feel very happy when I do all these things.
बिल्कुल, बहुत अच्छा लगा सुनकर कि किस तरह से आपने बच्चों को सिखाया टेबल टेनिस. यू सच एन इंस्पिरेशन योरसेल्फ, अ स्पोर्ट्स स्टार, एंड पीपल लुक अप टू यू. अगर आप एक चीज लोगों से कुछ कहना चाहेंगी कि वो करें, वो क्या होगा?
This is really a big calamity, of course, but there is an opportunity in every calamity. I think that the government and private companies should seize this opportunity and create employment, generating infrastructure in small and medium towns. CSR funds and LED funds of lawmakers can be used for this. Emphasis should be on imparting skills and knowledge and not just giving aid. This will empower people to find employment in their own towns. Migration to megacities will become much less necessary. Population density in megacities will decrease, and so infections will also decrease. I know this is a long-term solution, but as they say, this may be a very long way, but if it is the only way, trust me, then it is actually the shortest way.
All right, Manika, thanks so much for being with us. Well, we've got some fantastic news, absolutely fantastic news coming in. Sony Pictures Networks India has just contributed 98 lakh rupees. This is their donation for continued COVID relief work. Thank you so much for your generosity. That's absolutely fantastic.
That's fantastic, fantastic.
You know, and you know, it's just so wonderful that people are coming in, contributing in this manner. Again, it's going to build up, and you can keep contributing even once this program is over, and I think that's a key point, and we're going to repeat that point later. But joining us now, Mohammad Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, a Nobel laureate, a Magsaysay awardee, and somebody who's inspired millions around the world, not least of all in rural Bangladesh. Sir, it's an honor to be speaking to you. You've written, you've reflected about how the world can now take some really bold decisions, create a new order, and learn from what we've all collectively been through. How can we ensure that that actually happens?
Well, I'm simply raising a question. Everybody is trying to go back to where we are coming from before the pandemic began. I said, why are we in a rush to go back? Why should we go back at all? That was a terrible world. We are lucky that we are away from it now. And the machine has stopped. So we don't have to move in that direction.
Sir, let me just ask you this. One of the things that we've also realized is in these crises, it's the poorest people in our society who've suffered the most, and to some extent, you know, I mean, this has affected so many, not least of all you. And you've also seen that migration, you know, as it's been taking place here in India. Now, the terrible and tortuous path that people had to take, for example, to walk home, so many suffering. How can we change that? How can we make sure that we are much more focused on the poor?
Where the people live, we build the economy. Like you mentioned about the migrant workers, they were walking on foot by going 1,000 miles. I said, why people have to have a kind of survival livelihood by going 1,000 miles? Does it make sense? Why can't we create an economy where you don't have to leave your home, the place of your birth, to have a survival level economy? If you want to go above, then you go wherever you want. But the survival economy has to be built there. Rural economy should be independent economy. And the people who we're dismissing as the informal sector, they are actually micro-entrepreneurs. They do things on their own. So we should have a huge sector of micro-entrepreneurs. And even we have a ministry of micro-entrepreneurs. If you have a ministry of labor, I don't see why you shouldn't have a ministry of micro-entrepreneurs. You create financial institutions. So we talk about creating social business micro-entrepreneur bank, so that they will be located there, and this will be rural institution. Its headquarters will be in the rural area, not in the urban area. If you go in the urban area, you're mixed up with the urban thinking and so on and so forth, all kinds of attitudes that you have in the rural area. So you build it up in the rural area and make it happen. And suddenly you see this micro-entrepreneurs start growing. Micro-entrepreneurs are the base or the foundation of the entire entrepreneurial pyramid of the country. So on the top, you have the multi-billion-dollar people and the entrepreneurs. In the middle, you have the multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs. In the bottom, you have the multi-hundred-dollar entrepreneurs. They are as significant as the multi-billion-dollar because they are the beginning of the journey. We have to build in a new institutional format, new idea of building independent rural economy rather than rural economy as the supplier of labor and primary goods.
Really, as usual, I think that is really so brilliantly put. As you say, the bottom level of $100 affects so many more people. Now, you're the absolute global pioneer in microfinancing, and that is more needed now than ever before. If you have 3 points that a government should do, what would they be?
First, create the Ministry of Micro-Entrepreneurs. design institutions to serve the micro entrepreneurs, to help them to move up, eliminate loan sharking in the whole country. So as long as a loan sharking exists, your financial system is not working. Very clear. So make financial institution work. Create social business microfinance institutions, micro entrepreneur institutions, so that they can start lending money. And so lending money is one thing. There are many other things. Investing with the micro entrepreneur, joint ventures with micro entrepreneurs. Any business can have joint ventures with micro entrepreneurs. They are business people, we are business people, we have joint ventures. But we are helping them to grow as we grow. So it's a simultaneous thing. Ultimate solution to let people stand on their own feet so that they can contribute, they can create their own world. And they have enormous creative power. Creativity is not lacking anywhere. Simply we denied that creativity to come out. So we create now institutions, policies, whatever institutions you have for the rich people, just have the similar thing for the poorest people. And suddenly it works. It's a kind of reversal of the process that you want to do, and continue to do that as you go along. And particularly third one, focus on women. They are the treasure. They are the one who change the world. So address them. If you can address them in a massive way, you'll see how the economy will grow, how things will start changing. So these are the three things I would recommend very strongly.
Mohammed Yunus, sir, thank you very, very much. You are a great inspiration to all of us. Thank you for joining us.
Now, Zarina, you know Professor Yunus. I'm sure there's been a lot that you picked up, you've learned from him. But just to look at one of the points that he was talking about, women being so key to transforming communities, has that been your experience as well in Raigad?
Absolutely, absolutely. And really, I mean, Professor Yunus is a huge inspiration, and the work he's done, and even BRAC, Sir Faisal. In fact, I want to quote him because we, on our journey, we visited Sir Faisal, and he said to me, he said to Ronnie and me when we went there, that women manage poverty, they can also manage wealth. And those lines, I mean, this is 6 years ago, and I still remember those lines, and I wasn't prepared to even say this. It is just stuck in my heart. Because really, if the women of the family can really start earning, the essence is the women spend their money in different ways than men. The women spend it on education, on food, and on health. And the men spend it on other things. Now, I'm not against men, but really, if we can get the women to manage wealth, manage the wealth, things will change dramatically, especially in the poorest of the poor families.
Perry Garfinkel, the journalist
Zarina,
and
I must
author.
say one thing that he did, Mohammed Yunus did say off air. I must tell Zarina, he said very nice things about Swades.
Thank you.
But we didn't have time to put that on. Yes, he did.
No problem. No problem.
Praised your work.
So Perry Garfinkel, the journalist and author and a contributor to the New York Times, is with us now. What made you write about the Swades Foundation? What struck you about some of the work that they've been doing?
Well, thank you for having me on. I should explain the genesis of why I wrote this story. And it really began in 2009 when I did a story for the Huffington Post about Give India, the Joy of Giving Week. And I realized that altruism, philanthropy, charitable giving is relatively new in India. And I was looking for somebody to show leadership. And just about the same time, a couple of years later, that is, Ronnie Screwvala found me and he invited me to come look at his project in the villages south of Mumbai. And I bit, and I got this assignment, and he was generous enough to take me down there. I spent 2 or 3 days in the villages, and I had an eyewitness experience of what he was talking about.
Perry Garfinkel, could I just ask you, this Pranoy here, just give us a little, a few details of what your experience was like in Raigad, extremely poor area, and of the work that Swades does there. And Ronnie, feel free to jump in wherever you'd like to tell us of your experience of having Perry there.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Ronnie. Hi, Zarina.
Hi.
I am very much an experiential journalist, so I just couldn't mail this in, as we say. I had to see what was going on to really verify that this was having impact. And I saw cataract free eye tests and offers a cataract surgery, which was badly needed. I saw the development of sanitation projects. I was especially moved by a school we went to, and I saw Ronnie in action, getting down on his knees basically, and interacting with the kids, and it was a very inspirational couple of days. I left both inspired and, I have to say, somewhat daunted by the project and what it could achieve. The other day, the organization sent me some updates on numbers I had used in the New York Times, and Ronnie uses the word scale a lot, and I see how dramatically this project has scaled up in just 3.5 years. There is one figure, though, and the Scruvalas will corroborate this, that you cannot really quantify, but it may be the most important element, which is aspiration. Showing people in these villages that there is a way up is difficult because from where they're coming, they don't see an up. And the most important thing I think this project offers is hope, and that's hard to quantify.
Very, thank you so much for such kind words. Thank you for joining in. And now we have a special message. R. Vimla, CEO of the Maharashtra State Rural Livelihoods Mission. उनका संदेश है, आइए सुनाते हैं आपको.
Swades is really similar to us. They have this policy of educate, engage, empower, and also exit, which also is a part of NRLM principles, because we believe that the community has to take care of itself, and ultimately we should exit from the community, and government support should be as less as possible. We will be working together in 2 districts. We have signed an MOU for Raigad and Nashik, and I'm extremely happy about this, because establishing an urban-rural connect is very important, and which is what we are poised to do with Swades. Because already they are working with over 25,000 households now. They have more than 1,700 groups, and with this partnership, I think we will be able to reach out to more than 2 lakh households in the coming years, and by the end of 2023, when NRLM policy is about to exit, we would have reached out to more than 4 lakh households, I think. And this is going to be a really wonderful partnership, not only for Raigad and Nashik, I think for also Maharashtra, because I really truly believe that with Swades we will not be ek aur ek do, but ek aur ek 11. So looking forward to this partnership.
All right, ma'am. Thanks very much for being with us with that message. Joining us now, Vikas Khanna, chef, restaurateur, cookbook writer and humanitarian. Now, during the coronavirus, unemployment, the loss of jobs, so many have been affected. There's a sense of panic, there's a sense of helplessness, and you see a lot of that, don't you? Don't you think it is now more than ever a time to build sustainable livelihoods? In other words, the Swades model is essential now, perhaps more than even in the past.
Well, I think not just India. The helplessness has captured the entire planet right now. And, I had one of the most successful catering businesses in New York, and everything was shut off. Everything was shut off. You were opening a new restaurant, everything was shut off. But I still wanted to believe in the positivity of the moment, and we're still open during this time. A restaurant in Dubai, Elora, I just opened on August 14th. मुझे लगता है कि we will have to have a leadership which is more creative in creating jobs again. We have to reboot the cycle. We have to. And, it's easier to say, of course, when you say that stay positive, things will change, happen. No, we need a certain leadership of people in their fields to be more than ever to be coming out and creating job opportunities.
Vikas Khanna, good talking to you again, and I'm still amazed at the work that you're doing, have done and that you're doing. And you are a self-made person yourself. And like Swades focuses on developing skills, you know that more than anybody else. Wouldn't you agree how important developing a skill is?
Absolutely, but in the last few years we've hired more chefs who don't come from cooking colleges. But one thing which is amazing about educational systems, of systematic educational system, is also because it gives you discipline. when companies are hiring people who have degrees in education, and of course, but you have to be skilled. Without skill, education can't help you. You have to be in that focus line that you are able to learn a new trick of the trade, because otherwise बहुत मुश्किल है to get jobs in high position if you're not skilled just with educational degrees, because there are so many people with degrees right now.
विकास, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जुड़ने के लिए। वाकई में स्किल ट्रेनिंग बहुत अहम है आज के इस दौर में।
Wishing Swades and the campaign all the very best.
थैंक यू। और अब एक अच्छी खबर बता दें, at this point we would like to give our thanks to Marsh McLennan Global Services India, a part of Marsh and McLennan companies, for pledging 20 lakhs in CSR towards upliftment of 150 rural families. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Well, we've got a wonderful guest now, Arundhati Bhattacharya, former chairperson of the State Bank of India, somebody who I've interacted with extensively over the last several years. It's great to have you on this program and speak to you. In this pandemic, opportunities in urban areas, particularly in the services sector, has really gone down, hasn't it? There are hardly any opportunities now for quite a while. What do you think can be done to augment incomes and opportunities in rural India beyond only agriculture? Of course, there is agriculture, but something that can be sustainable in the rural economy beyond agriculture itself.
So, in the rural economy, we definitely need to go beyond just agriculture. And it's something that I've been saying for a long time. Because, if you look at agricultural income normally comes in a kind of a bunch. So if you're, farming, say, for sugarcane, you'll get your money once a year. And then you have to properly husband it across the entire year in order to ensure that you have a proper lifestyle. And we know that where there is a lot more demand than income, it's difficult to husband cash. What are the income streams that we are seeing in the services area? So, there are things like coaching classes, there are things like salons, there are things like eating places, there are things like, providing food, catering food to the houses. So there are all kinds of other activities that you can think about doing. And definitely, I think, there also could be, because in the rural areas, there's a lot of construction that is going on, whether it be roads, whether it be in the villages, the houses, the upkeep of the ponds, the upkeep of the water courses, the check dams. There is a lot that is going on over there. So, to become part of that, I think is very necessary. We also see, even in the urban areas, we see a huge deficit of just skills such as plumbing skills, carpentry, electricians, repair skills. So, there are lots of skills which don't really need you to become a graduate in order to get that skill.
Right. Arundhati Bhattacharya, we all know you're one of the finest bankers and you have a reputation for having an immense knowledge of finance. Can you explain to us a little bit how financial institutions, banks, etc., how to use technology to simplify, to get money to the villages, without human intervention? And I would like to go one step further. One thing is to get it to the village or to a small town. The other is to get it from the town, from the teller to the person. I go on a lot of these election trips and I've met many men and women. I'll give you an example. One widow who told me, yes, the money is in my bank, I get 1,000 rupees a month, it comes electronically, but when I go to the teller, he says, if you want your 1,000 rupees, you have to give me 500. So we took her into the bank and we asked the teller, what is this? And then they said, speak to the bank manager. We spoke to the bank manager, and just as the key moment came, the line got cut. So one thing is to get the money to a bank, the other is not the last mile, the last 6 feet. How does one stop problems occurring at that point?
Okay. So one, of course, is, we should try and limit human intervention as much as possible. Today, for instance, just in order to take out money, you don't need to go to a bank. You can go to a ATM. Right. And, there are sufficient ways for us to teach these people how to operate an ATM. So I think what the government also did when it did the PMJDY, it insisted, that we issue cards, okay? And actually that entire exercise became quite expensive because of the carding that we did, okay?
Right.
Now the problem with the cards is, I am perfectly fine to give the cards, but at the end of the day, if it's an illiterate person, what that person is going to do is to hand over the card to a tout. And in fact, for us, our instructions are that when a person who's illiterate comes into the bank and is putting their thumbprint and taking the money, as per the standard operating process, I am supposed to speak out loud and tell them ki Baba aapko 500 rupiya diya. Why? Because he's got a tout to fill up that, and he's asked for 200 rupees. The tout has filled it up for 500 and is going to walk away with it. But at the end of the day, the only way that this can come about is literacy. In fact, a lot of people have often asked me the question, what is the cure of our ills, of the country? And I have a one-word answer for that, and that is education.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अपनी राय रखने के लिए, और खास तौर से शिक्षा कितनी अहम है जो आपने कहा। हमारे साथ अब मंगेश वांगे हैं, सीईओ स्वदेश फाउंडेशन के। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मंगेश हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। मैं आपसे यही समझना चाहूंगी कि कुछ देर पहले हम विकास खन्ना को सुन रहे थे, उन्होंने जिस तरह से हमें कहा कि स्किल ट्रेनिंग बहुत अहम है, और आपकी जो संस्था है स्वदेश फाउंडेशन वो स्किल ट्रेनिंग में बहुत तवज्जो दे रही है, इसमें काम कर रही है, खास तौर से युवाओं को लेकर। मंगेश, तो बताइए आपका अनुभव क्या रहा?
जी हाँ, नमस्कार। विकास जी खुद एक जीवंत उदाहरण रहे हैं कि जिन्होंने एक बहुत टीन एज में काम करना, एक कौशल सीखा कुकिंग का, और बाद में अपनी मेहनत और महारत से एक बहुत अच्छे मुकाम तक पहुंचे हैं। और स्वदेश का भी अनुभव ये रहा है कि जो स्किलिंग का प्रोग्राम है, ये एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम है जिससे हम 2 से 3 महीने में एक बहुत गरीब परिवार में एक इनकम बढ़ा सकते हैं। जो 18, 17, 19, 20 साल के बच्चे हैं, उनको अगर स्किल काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया का हम ट्रेनिंग सर्टिफिकेशन करते हैं और उनको हम बाद में प्लेस करते हैं, तो 1 साल के अंदर जो घर सालाना 50,000, लाख, 1.5 लाख की इनकम पे था, एक ऐसे किशोर और वयस्क बच्चे को जॉब मिले, एक लड़के को जॉब मिले, उससे उनका आर्थिक जो उत्पन्न है 1 से 2 लाख एकदम बढ़ जाता है। तो ये बहुत अच्छा हमारा अनुभव रहा है। और खास तौर से हमने एक प्रोसेस ऐसा किया है जो आमतौर पर बाकी स्किलिंग संस्थाओं में हमने देखा है कि चैलेंज है। हम हमारे जितने परीक्षार्थी हैं उनको 2 साल तक पूरा उनसे संपर्क में रहते हैं, क्योंकि पहले 6 महीने साल में उनको गांव से शहर में जाके अपना काम संभालने में, सेट होने में टाइम लगता है। तो हम उनसे 2 साल तक संपर्क में रहते हैं, उनको सॉफ्ट स्किल सिखाते हैं और उनकी मदद करते हैं जिससे कि वो, और इस मामले में हमारा जो नंबर्स हैं वो बहुत अच्छे हैं। हमने 3,000 लोगों को अभी तक प्रशिक्षण दिया है, 89% लोगों को उसमें काम मिला है, और 76% ऐसे बच्चे हैं जो 1 साल से ऊपर टिके हुए हैं। लेकिन अभी जैसा जो समय है, कठिन समय है, और आज फिर उन्हें दोबारा खड़े करने की जरूरत है। काफी लोग जो हॉस्पिटैलिटी में थे उन्होंने अपना काम खोया है, तो उनको नए स्किल सिखाना, उनको एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के लिए तैयार करना, इसके लिए हम दोबारा प्रयत्नशील हैं और हमें विश्वास है हम उनकी मदद अच्छे ढंग से कर पाएंगे।
जी मंगेश जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और अच्छा लगा है सुन के कि किस तरह से आखिरी कदम तक आप युवाओं के साथ रहते हैं। 360 डिग्री शायद यही है आपकी जो टेक्निक है कि अंत तक आप उनके साथ हैं। बहरहाल बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अभी तक जुड़ने के लिए हमारे साथ वी हैव नाउ जिया मोदी, कॉर्पोरेट लॉयर, फाउंडर एंड सीनियर पार्टनर ऑफ AZBA Partners, member advisory board Swades Foundation. I would like to ask you, ma'am, how strong is Swades as an execution foundation? In addition to ideating, you need people on the ground too.
Absolutely. I think that that's the key question as far as the Swades Foundation is concerned, and the key uniqueness, if you like. Just to give you 1 minute of background introduction. Ronnie and Zarina, when they first were thinking about Swades Foundation, they had come to my house and Ronnie had just finished selling his stake in Walt Disney, and they were talking about the foundation. And the first question I asked him, but what about funds? And he said, well, we're just going to put in a decent portion of the money that we've just got from Disney into the foundation. And so the first thing that flashed through my mind is this is bound to succeed because they are both so invested in it. And I think the entire landscape, if you like, of what Swades wants to do is really upliftment of rural livelihoods. And the reason I think it works so well, and we hear amazing stories when we have meetings of the advisory board, is exactly that. The entire team is on the ground. The entire team is utilizing every rupee of money so that it is better tracked. The utilization of the money is in full. I don't think they waste anything because they're right there seeing how it's spent. And the sweat that is poured into the entire activity of the team, you can see the results year on year and really what the outcomes are. I am a Baha'i by religion, and so, economic upliftment, the equality of the girl, child is religious tenets for us. So Swades really appeals to me, and I think that, they take a lot of the learnings and the mistakes that they have made and re-engineer the model when they go back the next time to the village.
Zia Modi, a question to you, and then I'd ask Ronnie to sort of come in with his views as well. How much of a benefit is it to have people drawn from local communities volunteering to work at the grassroots level in their own areas? Zia?
I think it makes sense because they know the problems of their people, right? Ultimately, what are you trying to do? To remove pain points in as seamless and unobtrusive a way as possible. Very often when people from the outside come, we all have different notions, we all have different views, and sometimes we just don't get their real day-to-day problems that the rural people face. And for people from that area would get that in a nano, would be able to provide a practical solution, a cost-effective solution, and really blend in with the community.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think trust is such an important element when you're doing anything in rural India. You've got to build that trust. And actually, when we started off also, we started with 30, 40 villages, and then we grew to 2,200 villages. But during that period of time, the best way for us to enter new villages was to take colleagues where we had done some work and who can talk more than what we would talk. So really the community talking to the community, like any other peer-to-peer learning we have in our business world, is pretty much how it works. And I think that's the most powerful medium. Trust then becomes something that becomes a very strong pillar.
Trust, familiarity and collegiality, right, Ronnie? Everything, because
Yep.
you sort of blend in with, their views. You don't talk down to them.
You don't talk down to them.
Which
Absolutely
is the
clear.
key.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gigi Mammon, the Managing Director of NAPFINS, is with us at this stage. How has NAPFINS been helping small and marginal farmers and rural households overcome livelihood challenges, some of which predate the pandemic itself?
See, NAPFINS is a subsidiary of NABARD. It is previously known as NABARD Financial Services Limited. It's a microfinance institution engaged in providing microcredit to the rural populace. Basically, the people who are vulnerable, poor, for helping them in getting livelihood or supporting them in livelihood, NAPFINS provide microcredit, and that's how we are working. In fact, this is working for the last 10 years, and we had been helping across the country, around 16 states we are working. And we have so far supported more than 8 lakh families, 8 lakh members and 8 lakh families with around 7,000 plus crores of credit support.
So, Gigi Mammon, if you could give us some details of how you're working with Swades to provide these benefits to the people of Raigad in particular.
Yeah, as part of the initiative of Swades Foundation in Raigad district, we had associated with them in supporting the livelihood activities of the rural poor, especially the tribal people in the 7 blocks of Raigad district. Basically to acquire productive assets like milch animals mainly. And some also we supported for other kind of animal husbandry activities like acquiring goats and sheep and those kind of things. So, but the major initiative was to support for the milch animals. So more than 2,500 families have been supported in these 7 blocks of Raigad district, mostly the tribal people. And we have extended around 11 crore credit to these tribal families for acquiring milch animals, thereby getting their livelihood activities in place.
Mr. Maman, now, could you share your thoughts on this campaign, the Swades Building Livelihoods campaign, and its relevance in times such as these?
In this time of suffering and difficulty, we need to stand by the people who are really affected by the COVID pandemic, and we need to extend them the kind of support and financial assistance to them. NAFINS is one organization would be committed to provide the financial support to all these people wherever we are able to reach, and provide them the credit so that they would be in a position to come back to their life through the various livelihood activities. I would like to wish the very best to Swades Foundation, its founders Mr. Roni Screwwala, Mrs. Serin Screwwala, and the entire team of Swades Foundation, and also the NDTV for this laudable initiative of joining hands together for mobilizing funds for supporting the rural people, especially those who have suffered because of the COVID pandemic and who have gone back to their villages or migrated back to villages, for having their livelihood in place and to support themselves and be self-reliant.
Yeah. Mr. Maman, thank you so much for joining us at this stage. Thank you so much indeed.
मंगेश जी, आप हमारे साथ बने हुए हैं, तो जो ये नैफिन के साथ ये क्रेडिट लिंकेजेस हैं, मार्जिनल फार्मर्स को जो पैसा जाएगा, जाहिर तौर पे हमारे किसानों के लिए तो एक गेम चेंजर होगा वहां पे, किस तरह से काम कर रहा है?
हाँ निधि जी, ये एक बहुत जरूरी है। जैसे सरकार की नीति है, हमें अगर अपने देश में खासतौर से गांवों में जॉब क्रिएटर्स तैयार करने हैं तो ऋण की उपलब्धता को बहुत आसान और तेज करना बहुत जरूरी है। और आज से करीबन 2 साल पहले हमें ये परेशानी थी कि इतने आसानी से हम किसान लोगों की मदद नहीं कर पा रहे, तो सब नैफिन्स ने बहुत अच्छा एक हमारा साथ दिया है। और जिस तरह से उन्होंने अभी बताया 11 करोड़ के करीब उन्होंने जो लोन वितरित किए हैं, एक इससे बहुत अच्छी गति मिली है कामों में और ज्यादा काम करने की जरूरत है इन परिस्थितियों में। लेकिन इसके साथ एक और निधि जी दूसरा जरूरी पहलू मैं जोड़ना चाहूंगा और जिसपे हमने हाल ही में काम शुरू किया और एक अभियान के तौर पे हम आगे चलाना चाहते हैं, वो है फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी का काम। फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी इस वक्त बहुत आवश्यक है, खास तौर से जब वो एक इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज में हर घर की भागीदारी बढ़ रही है और वो आगे जा रहे हैं। क्योंकि जब इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी बढ़ेगी, उनकी इनकम बढ़ेगी, उस इनकम का सदुपयोग कैसे हो, उस इनकम को कैसे सेविंग अच्छा किया जाए और री इन्वेस्ट किया जाए। और दूसरा बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट इससे हमारा जो उद्देश्य है फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी है कि क्रेडिट कल्चर समाज में कितने अच्छे ढंग से हम बना सकते हैं। तो क्रेडिट कल्चर को मजबूत बनाना, कमाए अतिरिक्त आय को अच्छे तरह से सदुपयोग करना, इसके लिए फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी पे हम जोर दे रहे हैं। और ये क्रेडिट लिंकेज इस तरह से अगर और मजबूत होगा तो हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों की मदद कर पाएंगे।
Mangesh ji, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that. But we've got some great news. I think Zia wants to make an announcement. Is that right, Zia Modi? Is that you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
So I wanted to end by saying that, you know, these telethons are so inspiring and so many of us participate because we believe in Swades, right? But it just doesn't go on running without the donations that we need to give for the foundation to do better and better. And if we are inspired by what Swades is doing, then we really should be offering to donate something. For my part, I would be very happy to donate 10 lakhs to Swades today. And I really hope that everybody who is participating and listening can also find it in their hearts today to be a little generous and to help Ronnie, Zarina and Swades carry on their really fantastic work. Congratulations.
That's absolutely.
Thank you, Zia. Thank
yeah,
you.
Ronnie, and Zarina, you want to react to that? Anything you want to tell Zia?
Zarina will, but thank you.
Oh, just to thank her, and really it's so generous. And to the viewers, I mean, to give is really a joy, as I think Manika said, giving is a joy. So please take part in this joy of giving, because it does help people. And I think right now, if we don't help people, then when will we help them? Now is when the help is really needed.
Arun Nanda, the founder and chairman of... yeah, go ahead, Pranoy. Yeah.
I just say, we just wanted to remind viewers that 10 lakhs could, when it gets to farmers, it becomes 30 lakhs. Because it's going to be multiplied 3 times because of donors and corporate donors and Swades. So it's fantastic. Thank you, Zia Modi.
Thank you, Zia.
Coming back to something which we discussed earlier, the concept of women being key to the process of transformation. Now, it's so true, isn't it? You empower the women, who are involved in the process, and it's not just her. You're empowering her entire household as well. Zarina, you want to come in on that? When we speak about empowerment of a woman, we are in a sense, in so many cases, empowering the entire family.
No, there's no doubt about that. I mean, as I said before, women use their wealth differently from men, and whether they use it more carefully or they I think we've left women out of the development process for many, many years, for decades, maybe for centuries. I think the time has come to change that, because we have seen when women take charge of the wealth of the family, they nurture the children in a different way, they give opportunities in a different way, and it is a critical part of the development process not to leave women out, to make them equal partners. And it's a difficult thing to do, because we are a patriarchal society, and but it is essential, it is needed, and it should be something that we all focus on.
Amitabh Kant, the CEO of the Niti Aayog, it's great to have you, Dr. Kant, on this program. Now, the Niti Aayog has a huge job, catalyzing economic development, coming up with ideas, programs. Building livelihoods is very much at the core of what you do. You've spoken about it ad nauseum. But in the situation that we are in now, how urgent is it to speak about livelihoods and to try and do something to generate jobs?
What the world is facing today is an unprecedented scenario. COVID-19 has taken the world by surprise. Many people have lost their lives and many people have lost their livelihoods. The global economy has been hit extremely badly. As the Apex policy think tank and the nodal development coordination agency of Government of India, one of our aims is to champion cooperative federalism. We work with state governments, NGOs and the private sector with the aim of catalyzing the economic development of India and ensuring that no Indian is left behind from India's development story. Recently, the Prime Minister entrusted us with the responsibility of working with the private sector to develop technology products which will enable India to leapfrog in the post-COVID era. We are going full steam ahead to develop projects and products which will cover a wide range of issues, including financial inclusion, education for all, skill matching, in order to provide livelihoods. Ultimately, it is the people of India who will drive our growth stories. People are the building blocks of economic development of India. We provide them economic opportunities, and we must skill them in a manner that we do not just make them employable, but we make them capable. We make them capable of defining the future of our nation.
Amitabh Kant, thanks for joining us. You're really involved in a lot of macro projects and you also have on-ground experience. Can development models at the micro level, multiple Swadeses around the country, can that really be a model for building livelihoods and creating self-sustaining communities? That would drive the economy.
At the outset, let me congratulate Swadesh Foundation for this noble initiative. More than ever, we need to work towards building self-sustained livelihoods and driving the rural economy. The rural economy has already emerged as a powerful driver which is leading our economic recovery. I would also like to believe that the development model of Swadesh is in line with the aspirational district program, the largest experiment on outcome-focused governance in the world. And therefore, in the aspirational district program, we focus closely on improving people's ability to participate fully in the growing economy, health and nutrition, education, agriculture and water resources, financial inclusion and skill development, and basic infrastructure are the core areas of focus, much like Swadesh Foundation's 360-degree development model. I also believe in the power of collaborative governance. We must recognize that we have our own competitive advantage. The government may be good in one thing and the private sector and NGO in another. How do we establish a synergy between these two with the ultimate aim of maximizing development impact and the delivery of public goods? Your goal to create permanent change in the lives of 1 million people in the next 5 years is truly praiseworthy and ambitious. I'm very confident that a development model like Swadesh has tremendous potential to be scaled up and implemented across the country very, very successfully. Today, development models like Swadesh are critical and crucial. What you have achieved in Raigad is truly commendable. I wish you all the very best going forward. And we in NITI Aayog will be happy to provide all necessary support to Swadesh.
That's very, very kind words, and I'm sure Zarina and Ronnie would be listening to that very, very carefully. But it's wonderful that he believes that the idea of Swades can be replicated elsewhere as well. We lost Arun Nanda a while back. We've got him back on the line. You know, we were discussing women's empowerment, and I just wanted to get your views on that, specific to the work that Swades is doing. And you know, it's something that Zarina has spoken about on this program, but I think it's something that we really want to hear about, because the role of women in rural empowerment is so very critical.
You know, one of the things which really impressed me about the Swadesh Foundation was when we first went to the Raigad district to see their thing. I mean, they are totally connected to the ground, and what really touched my heart was women empowerment. Be it helping them doing conventional things like stitching or art or food products and things like that, but they also took them to doing small mini poultry, growing second vegetables, and that was very nice to see on the ground. Even in the area of education, you know, for supporting girl child from the beginning and improving the quality of education, the little libraries in schools, these are things which matter and will change the economic prosperity of the people living in those areas.
You know, you're speaking about specific areas where they've done a lot of work, but if you look at the overall model of Swades, would you like to share your views you know, with us on that? What exactly has worked in terms of the model that Swades has actually focused on?
I think the first thing they did right was that they focused on a particular area rather than taking a subject all over. The second thing was that they looked at it in totality, whether it is arranging drinking water, whether it is toilets, whether it is livelihood, whether it is education, whether it is health. They took specific one district and focused on everything in that area. And I think that is what really made a difference in this situation. But the most important thing is involvement of local people. They've understood the problem. It is not something which is decided in their office in Bombay and implemented. It is something that the people, they have a very strong committed team. The team goes to the ground, they interact with people, they understand the problem, and the solution is specific to the problem, particularly in the area of women empowerment. It is not something which is decided in the office and implemented.
Yeah.
They talk to the girls, find out the ladies, what are their skills and what is it they can do, and then devise something around it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is of the success, besides the focus in a particular area and understanding, is the commitment of Ronnie and Zarina and the team that they have got. They're totally committed to the subject.
Zarina, you want to say something about your team? Just very briefly, we've got Kaushik Shaparia with us. I mean, the team must mean the world to you.
Absolutely. You know, we were telling them that it may be our dream, but they make the dream come true. The team makes the dream come true. And not only that, now it's also their dream. And it is really that. And now it is also the community's dream. So we have 1,300 people working with us because 1,000 of them are community volunteers and 300 amazing human beings working literally day in and day out on the field during COVID, during Nisarg, and led by the amazing Mangesh, who I am really indebted to, and he's a fantastic CEO. So we're very, very lucky.
Yeah, and a fantastic human being. Kaushik Shaparia, the CEO of Deutsche Bank, with us. Now, Deutsche Bank has an In the Community program, as it were. Tell us a little bit about this program.
Well, we...
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, we do cover a fair bit of activities and we have various streams, and In the Community is the one where we try to make some change into lives of the community where we work with. And with Deutsche Bank having 5 branches in Maharashtra, for us, this is a very important location for us to get right. And really, Swades has been godsend for us to work with in Raigad district, where I've seen firsthand as to what reverse migration is all about. Last year, just before COVID happened, we had some of the beneficiaries of parties we work with came across and explained what changes Swades has made to their lives. We work with them on drinking water, irrigation, orchard plantation, and also during COVID, we have partnered on distribution of food packets, ventilators, etc. But the one which really stood out for me was how Swades has helped people move back from large cities where they do pretty menial job of watchmen earning 10,000-15,000 rupees to having a much better livelihood back in the village by providing them employment of their own, self-employed, get their own land, grow their own stuff with good irrigation practices which others copy thereafter. So really very proud for Deutsche Bank to get associated with NGOs like Swades. We work with more than 20 plus NGOs, but this thing which some of the other panelists said before of concentrating on one location and then really doing 360 degrees around that is really very impressive. And really to find city dwellers like Zarina and Ronnie having such a deep knowledge of locations like that was eye-opener for people like me. And I need to put something in now, and I will let COVID get out, and I'll work on that. That's a promise.
And Kaushik, I just want to sort of...
Actually, Kaushik Shaparia, one of the things that inspired us and impressed us a lot about Deutsche Bank's involvement is not with Swades, not just about partnership and CSR. Many of your staff have actually been doing volunteer work themselves, right?
That's true. For us, we actually like to make a competition within the bank for which NGOs will support more, depending on how much participation we get. And clearly, Swades has got a very large share of our spend, and that's thanks to the kind of work which we are able to do with the community. So it's very important that we should just not be writing checks and assuage our guilt, but really work along with the people who are we partner with towards the beneficiaries which get benefit out of that. And again, thank you very much, Swades, for that.
Thank you.
One second, Ronnie and Zarina and Vishnu and Nidhi, I think this is one of the most astounding announcements I've ever made in a show. It's coming towards the end of the show, and can you imagine, there is a tech company has just announced support, a contribution of 2.5 crores to the Swades Building Livelihoods campaign. 2.5 crores. Isn't that just astounding?
Amazing. That's splendid.
Get emotional.
That's really
Wow.
amazing. That's fabulous. That's incredible.
No, thank you
I was
so
really
much.
not expecting that. Wow.
That's. I wish we could name the company, but I don't know. But perhaps we'll figure out a way of figuring that out. But thank you so much. Thank you so much indeed. We're joined now by Harsh Mariwala, the founder.
Permission.
Yeah, that's right.
They want to remain anonymous for now, but we'll try and get their permission because
We
it's
will.
really
It is astounding.
Wonderful.
It is astounding.
It's a tech company, it'll always come out.
So, Harsh Mariwala, the founder and chairman of Marico and a member of the advisory board of Swades with us. Tell us why for you the Swades approach is something which has really worked on the ground.
I have been on, can I go ahead?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So I have been on board, the advisory board for last, I think, more than 2 years, and I have been attending the meetings which are held once in 6 months. And I am, initially when Ronnie asked me to come on board, I was a bit skeptical because they were trying to do so many things in a community, and I was a little bit unsure whether they will be able to pull it off. But after hearing them over a period of 2 years, I find that they've adopted an approach which is, first of all, building the trust. In any initiative like this, when you are going into rural area, trust is very important, and the local community always feels that who is this outsider coming in from big city of Bombay, and how can we trust them? They may have vested interest in working with us, and then there are some other vested interests at the village level or the district level also, which would prevent somebody like Swades to actually be effective there. But I think that trust has been won. To me, that was the biggest step. And post that, they have been able to take initiatives in a far more holistic manner. And this is very, very tough. You know, it is okay to look at education or one part of the value chain or provide livelihoods. But here in this case, they have looked at health, nutrition, education, water, sanitation, as well as economic development. And I think that's all interconnected. And that's what makes this this initiative very, very interesting. And I had also suggested last time to Ronnie that this is something which can be scaled up all over India. You have gone through an experience curve which is invaluable, and you could educate other NGOs, other organizations to actually help them scale up. So all I can say is that they've done wonderful work and they need support. You could support this as a donor. You could also work with Swades in terms of if you want to take it in one of the districts, you want to do it in any part of the country, because they have mastered the system over a period of 3-4 years, and there is a huge learning curve which is very, very difficult for anybody to implement just like that. So I would just end by saying that they're doing very good work and they need support. So I would say that either you do it directly or do it through your own NGO, and they will support you in terms of giving you know-how.
Harshi, the work speaks of dedication actually. The current focus is of course on reverse migration and the people who have returned to the areas you work in. 90,000 people, we believe. So that's a very large number. Harshji.
It is a very large number, and I also feel that the commitment and dedication which Zarina and Ronnie has been showing in this is amazing. They go to these small towns over weekends, spend time with them, interact with the team. So it is just not giving money; it is active involvement which is making it succeed in this district. So the active monitoring, tracking, involving the advisory board. I think these are all very, very important initiatives, important elements in the success of this model.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mariwala, thank you very much indeed. Can I just sort of wrap up with the two questions, one to Zarina and one to Ronnie. Just very quick questions. Zarina, taking the Swades model across the country now, is that your next big goal? I mean, we all hope so, but is that really your goal?
So, Pranoy, really, the idea is to create a model. And then once you, I mean, I would love to have a Swades app where you download it and we give you a step-by-step as to how to go about it yourself. If you're a young boy in a village and you want to lift your village out of poverty, what are the steps? Of course, I mean, this is a dream. I don't want it to just stay in India. I want it to go everywhere. And I think now, and as Harsh was saying, and he's been really telling us this, that their learning curve that we have had over the last 6 years, we have made so many mistakes, Pranoy, and those mistakes, we've converted them into learning, and we've changed and we've tweaked, and now I think we have something that works. It really works. So I would love to see it all over the world. And the other thing I would love to see is these dream villages really blossoming all over the place. And I want, one last thought that I want to say, two things, is I want to make rural cool. I want that urban-rural divide to dissolve, okay? And I really believe in this promo that we've been playing also in Swa Se Bane Des. I want our rural communities to believe that they're in charge of their own destiny. I want them to be happy, and I want them to celebrate, and I want them to help each other. So that's what I really want.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think, like Zia Modi says, when we hear both of you, we know it's going to be a success. So Ronnie, I'm going to ask you a question which you've been asking me repeatedly for the last maybe 25 years. Where do you hope to see yourself and the foundation 5 years from now?
Well, firstly, to better anything with the passion with which Zarina speaks is always tough. So maybe you should have asked her the last word on it rather than me, but I'm going to try my best. I think...
No, we will go back to Zarina and let her have the last word after you.
Please, that'll be absolutely great. We're talking about women empowerment in any case, so I think that's going to be important. But, I think what we've done in the first 5 years is laid a lot of foundations. To me, actually taking Swades digital is something that is a really big vision for us. And I know COVID has sort of triggered that, but it is a big vision for us. Because I think everyone thinks, oh, digital, and you relate it to urban India, and you always look at that divide again, as Zarina spoke about. So that's one element that I want to see change. I think, yes, we want to take this model nationally. Part of our entrepreneurial zeal was to create an execution foundation on a holistic basis that can actually be shared with a lot of people. Unlike in the corporate world, it is a collaborative effort in the social world. It is not a competitive effort in the social world. So to that extent, for us to change that is important. I think the reverse migration, we realized it a long time back, but today we realized it where everyone's seen that at railway stations and everywhere else. So there's almost 80, 90 million people that are neither rural nor urban. And I think now over the next 2 to 3 years, what do we need to do to give these people who otherwise feel orphaned in both sides? That's one of the most important things that I think is a mission for us. End of the day, we want to change people's destinies. And the only way you can impact people's destinies is if you put money in their pocket, they understand financial inclusion, and they feel you don't need them anymore. And that's really pretty much what we want to achieve.
It'd be fantastic to see
that's the key. Not just give away money, but money that creates a sustainable living. And Zarina, last word with you.
Thank you. Big thank you to all of you, really, for all this effort, and big thank you for all the donors and all the donors that are to come. Really, there are a lot of people that need help, and I'm thanking you in advance for all the donations you're about to give us.
In fact,
so thank you, Pranoy, thank you, Vishnu, thank you, Nidhi.
In fact, Zarina, the donations are still coming in. Remember, this is an ongoing campaign, and we just want to keep highlighting that. It goes on well beyond tonight. And we'd like to thank Mahindra Holidays and Resorts India Limited for supporting over 150 rural lives. I think it's a fantastic contribution over here. Thank you so much indeed.
वाकई में thank you
Zarina, very very much. Thank you.
Absolutely, Zarina and Ronnie का बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद कि आपने हमें एक आत्मनिर्भर मॉडल दिया है जिसको पूरे देश भर में अपनाया जा सकता है. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.